This is your host, Danny, and this is Word Power from English Plus Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to learn 10 new words. We're going to learn the word entomb, mausoleum, facade, ingenuity, illumination, pharaoh, feat, convey, gilded, and pinnacle, all in the context of a story of great tombs. You're going to learn these 10 new words in the context of great tombs. And that's not everything, of course. You can practice everything you're learning in this episode on EnglishPlusPodcast.com. The link is in the description. It's going to take you to the custom post I created for this episode. You're going to find everything you need to practice and make these words permanent in your active vocabulary bank. And before we start, there is something I would like to tell you about. Things are going to change a little bit on English Plus Podcast. We're going to have every other episode as a premium episode. So there's still going to be free episodes, of course, but every other episode of every single series that we have here is going to be premium. And if you want to unlock all premium episodes and the other things that I'm offering my patrons, like English Plus Magazine, you can become a patron of English Plus. You will be supporting English Plus and supporting me to continue creating episodes for English Plus, and you will have all the good stuff that comes with premium episodes and other premium content that I'm creating for my patrons on Patreon. The link is in the description. Become a patron of English Plus Podcast. Help me continue this journey and never stop learning. And now, without further ado, let's start talking about great tombs. Over the course of history, civilizations have entombed their dead in various ways. Two of the most impressive tombs are the Taj Mahal and the Great Pyramid. The Taj Mahal was erected by the Emperor Shah Jahan as a mausoleum for his dead wife. 20,000 workers toiled for nearly 20 years to build the white marble structure. The jeweled building seems to float on the banks of the Jumna River in Agra, India. This domed building is laid out in perfectly balanced elements. The Taj Mahal's white marble facade stands in distinct contrast to the red sandstone fronts of the surrounding buildings. The architectural ingenuity of its design can also be seen in the carved marble screens at the tops of the walls. Not only do these furnish additional beauty, but the sunlight that passes through them provides illumination for the interior of the building. This magnificent structure is commonly acknowledged as one of the world's most beautiful buildings and an architectural masterpiece. In ancient Egypt, deceased pharaohs and their families were laid to rest in pyramids. The Great Pyramid at Giza is the largest of these. Cheops, also known as Khufu, who ruled Egypt from 2590 to 2567 BC, forced nearly every man in Egypt to work on his massive tomb. Built when machinery did not exist, this mammoth structure of stone represents a tremendous feat of engineering. Nearly 2.5 million stone blocks weighing over 5,000 pounds each make up the Great Pyramid. Lacking written records of the construction, scholars can only speculate as to how the laborers moved these monstrous weights. One theory holds that as each level was constructed, a spiral ramp was built to convey stones to the next levels. Upon completion, a gilded stone was placed at the pyramid's pinnacle during an elaborate ceremony. Once this golden marker was in place, workers trimmed the stones and applied the limestone facing. Today, the Great Pyramid lacks its original outer facing of limestone. Over the centuries, the limestone was stripped to provide building materials for the nearby city of Cairo. So that was our story about the great tombs. I hope you learned something from this story, but now the real learning begins with the 10 words that I have in store for you. These words are entomb, mausoleum, facade, ingenuity, illumination, pharaoh, feat, convey, gilded, and pinnacle. And now let's start with the very first word, entomb. E-N-T-O-M-B. Entomb. Let's take a look at how we use that in context. We said over the course of history, civilizations have entombed their dead in various ways. What does that mean? Of course, it comes from the word tomb. Now, if something is entombed, it is buried or permanently trapped by something. Now, in our case here, we're talking about dead people, and they were put in a tomb, which is obviously a place to bury dead people. But this is the verb, entomb, to put in a tomb, to be buried or permanently trapped. Of course, you're not trapped, but to be buried in a place. And in this case, we're talking about great pharaohs and kings, and their tombs were magnificent, like the pyramids or the Taj Mahal. And now for the next word, mausoleum. M-A-U-S-O-L-E-U-M. Mausoleum. Now let's see how we use this word in context. We said the Taj Mahal was erected by the Emperor Shah Jahan as a mausoleum for his dead wife. And a lot of romantic stories circle around the building and this love story between Shah Jahan and his wife Mumtaz Mahal. But what is the meaning of the word mausoleum? A mausoleum is a building which contains the grave of a famous person or the graves of a rich family. And in this case, we know it's the wife of Shah Jahan. So that is the meaning of mausoleum. What is our next word? Facade. F-A-C-A-D-E. Facade. Now let's see how we use that word in context. We said the Taj Mahal's white marble facade stands in distinct contrast to the red sandstone fronts of the surrounding buildings. So what is the facade of a building means? The facade of a building, especially a large one, is its front wall or the wall that faces the street. And obviously, when we talk about the facade of Taj Mahal, it is the most recognizable picture that you see online. That is the facade of Taj Mahal. Of course, if you've been there or if you've seen it on one of those documentaries, you will know that there's a lot more to Taj Mahal than this magnificent facade. But we can all agree that the facade is the most recognizable feature of the Taj Mahal. That is the front of the building. So that is our word facade. What about our next word? Ingenuity. I-N-G-E-N-U-I-T-Y. Ingenuity. Now let's take a look at how we use this word in context. We said the architectural ingenuity of its design can also be seen in the carved marble screens at the tops of the walls. And here, of course, we're still talking about the Taj Mahal, but we're talking about the architectural ingenuity of its design. What is the meaning of ingenuity? Well, ingenuity is skill at working out how to achieve things or skill at inventing new things. We're talking about something that is genius, something that is inventive, originality, creativity at its best. That is ingenuity. And that is when we say the architectural ingenuity. We cannot say that about a regular building that is ordinary looking. We use that only to talk about great buildings or other things, of course. That is the word ingenuity. Now let's move to our next word, illumination. I-L-L-U-M-I-N-A-T-I-O-N. Illumination. Now let's see how we use that word in context. We said not only do these furnish additional beauty, but the sunlight that passes through them provides illumination for the interior of the building. We're still talking about the Taj Mahal, of course, but here, what does that mean? Provides illumination for the interior of the building. We're talking about those beautiful carved marble screens at the tops of the walls, and we said that they do not only furnish, they're not just there for decoration. They are great decoration, of course, but they're not there just to decorate. They also provide illumination. What is the meaning of illumination? Illumination is the lighting that a place has. So remember, that was built a long time ago, and they needed to think about how to light a place without a lot of torches, and obviously they didn't have electricity back then. So those carved marble screens provided illumination, provided light to that place. That is the meaning of illumination. Now we will move to our next word, Pharaoh. And now, of course, we're talking about the Great Pyramid of Giza, so we move to ancient Egypt and pharaohs. Pharaoh. Pharaoh. Now let's take a look at how we use this word in context. We said in ancient Egypt, deceased pharaohs and their families were laid to rest in pyramids. So not everybody was laid in rest in pyramids. Not at all. Only deceased pharaohs and their families. So who are the pharaohs? Well, actually, a pharaoh was a king of ancient Egypt. Simply a king. Now, of course, they called themselves gods, most of them anyway, but we're talking about ancient Egyptian kings. Those ancient Egyptian kings were called pharaohs. Now, this might not be a new word for you, but the spelling can be a challenge sometimes. It is Pharaoh, pharaoh. And now that takes me to the next word, feet, Feat, feet. Now let's take a look at how we use that in context. We said built when machinery did not exist. This mammoth structure of stone represents a tremendous feat of engineering. What does that mean? What is a feat of engineering? Of course, we're not talking about feet, Feet, that is the plural of foot. That's something else. Feat here is completely different. If you refer to an action or the result of an action as a feat, you admire it because it is an impressive and difficult achievement. It's a great accomplishment, a great achievement. That is a feat. And obviously, when we talk about the Great Pyramid of Giza, even today with all the machinery we have, it wouldn't be easy to build another pyramid as great as those we can find in Egypt. But back in the day, when no machinery existed, this mammoth structure definitely represents a tremendous feat of engineering, a tremendous accomplishment, a tremendous achievement. That is the meaning of feat. And now let's move on to our next word, convey. 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 Now let's take a look at how we use this word in context. Now we said that nobody knows for sure how they built the pyramid because there were no written records. But one theory holds that as each level was constructed, a spiral ramp was built to convey stones to the next levels. So what is the meaning of convey here? Now, I use it a lot. You might have heard me use it a lot to talk about information. To convey information or feelings means to cause them to be known or understood by someone. But that is for information or feelings. But what about stone here? We're talking about something. To convey someone or something to a place means to carry or transport them there. So it is like to transport these gigantic stones to the next levels. And we said that one theory holds that as each level was constructed, a spiral ramp was built around the constructed part to convey stones to the next level, to transport stones, to carry stones to the next level. That is the meaning of convey. And now for our next word, gilded. 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 Let's take a look at how we use this word in context. We said upon completion, a gilded stone was placed at the pyramid's pinnacle during an elaborate ceremony. What is the meaning of gilded? Now, gilded means covered or highlighted with gold or something of a golden color. Now, of course, you can't see it today because it is gone somewhere, but that is the meaning of gilded. Gilded, and here we're talking about a gilded stone, it's covered or highlighted with gold or something of a golden color. So nowadays, when we talk about gilded something, maybe we're not talking about real gold, but just a golden color. That is the meaning of gilded, and now we come to our very last word, pinnacle. 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 Now let's see how we use this word in context. Well, actually, it was in the same sentence that I just used to talk about the gilded stone. Upon completion, a gilded stone was placed at the pyramid's pinnacle during an elaborate ceremony. So what is the meaning of a pinnacle? We're talking about here the pyramid's pinnacle. A pinnacle is a pointed piece of stone or rock that is high above the ground. And for a pyramid, it's obvious we're talking about this stone that is put on top of the pyramid, and it was gilded. It was, because it's not anymore. Anyway, the point is that is the pinnacle of a building or of a structure like the pyramid. We can use pinnacle to talk about the pinnacle of a career or something. If someone reaches the pinnacle of their career or the pinnacle of a particular area of life, they are at the highest point of it. So we can say that he or she is at the pinnacle of their career. And that is a great feat, of course. Great achievement. Remember, feat? That is a great feat. So, that is our word, pinnacle. Let me remind you again, we talked about 10 words. Don't forget the words: entomb, mausoleum, facade, ingenuity, illumination, pharaoh, feat, convey, gilded, and pinnacle. And I'll be honest with you, and I'm going to tell you that you're going to forget most of these words or what these words mean or how we use them, but that's not a problem because you can always practice these words. And to do that, all you need to do is one thing. Take the link in the description. It's going to take you to a custom post I created for this episode on my website, EnglishPlusPodcast.com. There you will find everything you need to practice these words. You will find interactive activities, you will find a PDF downloadable worksheet, and in the PDF practice worksheet, you will also review the words we learned last week in Word Power episode. So there is more benefit to it than just learning the 10 words. It practices the last 20 words we talked about in our Word Power series. And don't forget, as I told you at the beginning of this episode, every other episode of every single series is going to be premium now, and it's going to be exclusive only to my patrons on Patreon. The link is in the description. If you become a patron, you will be supporting me to create more of the content you love. You will have access to all the premium episodes, and you will have access to all the premium content I'm creating. I'm talking about special publications, I'm talking about English Plus magazine, and a lot of interesting things coming your way if you decide to become a patron of English Plus on Patreon. The link is in the description. Don't think twice, support English Plus. If you love this show, you would love to have it around for years to come. And that happens only with your support. And now finally, if you've made it this far in this episode, I would assume that you liked the episode, and I will ask you to leave your honest review on Apple Podcasts or any other podcast player you're listening to, because that will help English Plus grow and reach more people. Now that being said, that will be everything for today's episode. This is your host, Danny. Thank you very much for listening to another episode from English Plus Podcast, another Word Power episode. I will see you next time.